Hello, this is Stefan from Rand Nerds. Welcome to my review of the final episode of Season 13, the Flux season of Doctor Who. There may be some minor spoilers ahead, so if you don't have anything spoiled, turn off now. So, the final episode. We've had 5 weeks of lots of plot lines being set up and being slightly disconnected and wondering what's been going on with them all. And in this episode, we get them mostly tied together. We left off with the Doctor in between universes, stuck on a Division spaceship where Swarm and Azure have invaded and are about to basically disassemble her. She manages to escape by running away. We've got Yaz and Dan briefly stuck in the past, and we've also spent a lot of our time stuck on modern day planet Earth doing the Sontaran occupation of Earth. These are sort of the three sort of key things that sort of line up to get to resolve our final bits. The episode has to get a lot of things resolved very quickly, and has a lot of these plot threads have got to be tied together. And it is very fast paced, but a lot happens. This episode could have really been done being an hour and a half long almost. Well, hour and a half, 8 minutes long, in an attempt to sort of give it the breathing space it needs, because it does really motor through really quickly, slightly to its detriment. And to a certain extent, some of the plot threads, you do sort of wonder, were they necessary? So there's the whole subplot of the Grand Serpent we saw last week, where he basically was key involved in setting up units, and he plays a part of the story in this one. And truthfully, he isn't needed. As a character, I like him. And he's well acted. I enjoy him, and it's left a bit open for his fate is left open and hanging, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again. But as a whole, his whole plot line isn't really needed, apart from tying off a little bit of Vinder's, but that's a bit of a weak justification for it, and he could be removed and the general storyline would have carried on just as normal. So that wasn't necessary. That sort of thing that does hurt the episode as a whole. And while I did enjoy it, and while I did like the sort of conclusion, we find an awful lot about going on. We find out what the Flux actually is. We find a bit more about the Division and so forth. A lot of it felt a bit rushed, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the resolution. I did enjoy the point trying to give it, but it felt a little bit messy overall. It just felt a little bit. Wasn't as good as the last few weeks we've been having, which have been fairly steady. This sort of lets it down slightly, but overall it's pretty good. It's probably worth mentioning now a bit about some of the other characters we've encountered. Zorman and Azure have been sort of the main big bads of the series, and I've really liked their characters. They felt very threatening, sort of their abilities and powers, and their sort of just general attitude. And a lot of us left hanging about who they actually are. They clearly know the Doctor, they clearly know the Division, they've got a massive grudge against both, and that isn't resolved and it's left open for the future. So no doubt we'll hopefully find more about why they actually involved and what their background is, and what their hatred is for the Doctor and basically the whole universe in future, presumably future episodes we'll find out, obviously with a different Doctor. So we get to see their bits, and they have been really good villains across the board. I've liked them as villains. I think they've been excellently played. I think Sam Spiel was the plays Swarm. He does a fantastic job of playing that character, and it's very good, very fun. And of course, the other characters who we've been doing a lot with in this serial is Vinder and his partner Belle, and I like both of them as well. Vinder as a character who, so obviously I knew fairly on he was going to be a pretty major character, and he seems quite bit part, and obviously he ties in with the Grand Serpent somewhat, but again not really a necessary tie-in. I really liked his actor, I really enjoyed his character in this episode, and in fact all the episodes I've really enjoyed the way he's gone through and how he's dealt with things, and I would like to see more of him in the future. And I also like, although she's not had a lot of screen time, Belle's character has come across very well. I would like to see more of them in the future, and I think they will, because they seem to have done a lot of character development with them and build them up. The Lupine, Carvanista, although we never saw any other Lupine about, but it's all implied that they exist. We never see any others, we never deal with any others, so felt a little bit strange, and obviously their dog costume budget was a little bit low. So it would have been nice to had even briefly other characters sort of create other lupine turn up, not necessarily in the flesh, but just sort of create the impression that there was more of them about. It just feels like he's just talking to an empty mass of space rather than actually a whole civilization. We also have the Sontarans in it. Obviously, they've been occupying Earth, and they are the big bad of Earth. They've been taking advantage of the situation that has occurred. They are not the big bad behind the whole situation. They don't really even know what's going on. They know that the flux is happening, and they're going to take advantage of it as best they can. And they have a cunning plan behind it and what they're going to do, and they try and act it, and it sort of works to a certain extent. As is usual, the Doctor has some things to think about that cunning plan and does deal with it. So I like Zoltans. Zoltans are a race that we don't... They've been around Doctor Who a lot of years, since John Pertwee's time. And they appear... I'm glad they've reappeared a bit more. They are... I like Simon, I like Daleks, but I've got a bit... They happen way too much. It's nice to have series where we don't have them featured in it too much, because they are all one of the big bads of the universe, but they're very well overdone. Simon sometimes is a third fiddle in the situation. Throw something else into the hat. I mean, I would like to see some more races brought back from the Doctor's encounters in the past. But it's nice to see him again, featured again, and obviously they've got enough costumes, so they can afford to do a bit more with them. So it's cool to see him back again. And so I like them and their characterisation, I like their way they work, I like the main characters sometimes, and they're sort of fitting in the whole ream of just this basically group of just taking advantage of the situation. To a certain extent, Swarm and Azure taking advantage of the situation as well. And because they're not behind the flux, they just know about it. They're taking a more, where sometimes they're doing like sort of their sort of like local universe situation, sort of their empire. Swarm and Azure taking like almost the whole metaverse, as it were, type situation around it. So final thoughts of this episode. Very fast paced. It did leave some threads hanging. There are certain plot lines and situations that are out there which are not resolved, and you couldn't resolve everything in this series. There's going to be questions and threads and what happens in this episode. When you've got so much going on, it's inevitable. Doctor's still got some mysteries to unravel and resolve, and hopefully we'll see more of that in the future. I overall thought it was a good episode overall. So thank you very much for watching. I've really enjoyed doing these last few reviews, as I always do. So very much for joining me. If you've joined me for all of them in the last 3 weeks, thank you very much. Me and a colleague of mine, Middlemeister, will be doing our thoughts on the series as a whole. That should be out this week. We're going to be, whereas I've been trying to spoiler free in these all reviews, we'll go full on analysis, break all spoilers out. We're not going to worry about it. That should be up hopefully later this week. You'll be able to check that out and see our thoughts of the series as a whole. If you have enjoyed this, would you please consider perhaps subscribing to the channel? We are honestly on YouTube. We do podcasts on here as well. Every other fortnight. Our most latest episode went up yesterday. You can check that out, or you can watch the next episode in a couple of weeks' time on the 18th of December. We do a games night, though we're now sort of shut down now until the new year. But we'll be turning those again in New Year's time. We'll be returning to the games night. You can pick up on those. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys. And I'll see you guys on New Year's Day when we get the next episode broadcast. So until then, guys, see you later.